Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Rostermania is back on the menu with Minnesota Rokkr making a complete squad wipe last night. It was roughly this time last year when they did the same thing again, pretty much a complete squad wipe of last year. People wondered, would they finally put together a decent team here for the upcoming season? Turned out not the case. This time it's their entire squad that's going to be gone. Where are they going to go next, these players, with the rumours that it currently looks like? What are Minnesota Rokkr going to do with their roster? Will they finally build a good one? Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. I did see this as well yesterday, the high-rise jump. There was loads of jump spots you could do on this map, and this was one such example. There was a few you could get around the map in different ways. I imagine it'll be back. Not really viable to actually do this in a game of Search and Destroy or whatever, but this probably is going to be one of the maps that will be played going forward. It is the most likely, I would say, to be competitively viable, and when they brought it back, well, maybe there's other candidates. When they brought it back as Skyrise back in Advanced Warfare, they actually put it into the map set, so it's probably going to be the case this time around. Just wanted to say as well, yesterday we saw that the OpTic Major was pretty much confirmed by OpTic themselves, and just Jake Hell's comment on this as well, and mentions that the fact that there's no London event is effectively London's fault. It's just the way that the CDL is. Now, technically, if there's no London event, as there isn't, let's not forget, Champs was in Vegas, but it wasn't Vegas hosting it, right? So if the CDL really wanted to do a London event, they could say, all right, the kickoff, the Pro-Am, if they're going to do that again, can be in London, or it can be anywhere. It can be in Sydney if they really want it. So the events really, if there's going to be an EU event, or a UK event, or a London event, or whatever, it's going to take the CDL to step in and say, all right, we're going to host an event that we're going to put on in that location. London aren't going to do it, we believe. So it's a little bit unfortunate. And the current rumour is that there are going to be lots of repeat cities from last year. I think Toronto are going to do another event. I'm not sure if Boston are going to run it back, or maybe, hopefully we get a New York event this year. I really wanted to go to the New York one last year, to be honest, but it didn't happen. But so maybe this time around, Boston might run it back, but I don't know if they'll want to do it in like early Feb again, you know what I mean? Because last year, it was a great event, I thought, the Boston one, but wow, was it cold, that storm that we got. If you guys were there in attendance, it was like minus 25 on one of the days. It was outrageous the entire time, and the pros weren't happy about that, of course, either. So if they are going to do another Boston one, I imagine they'll want to do it a little bit later in the year, so I wonder when OpTic's Major is going to be then, because this year OpTic's Major was the third one, right? Whereas in Vanguard, it was the opening one early in the year, of course, in Texas. So they might move the events around a little bit. I don't know if any other team is going to step up to the plate here. If I would really like to see potentially if Seattle are moving to Vancouver, a Vancouver event, I think that'd be great times. But even just a Seattle event in general would be pretty good. I think they had the Halo World Championship there last year, didn't they? So there's some good options, but this is the thing. It takes the teams to actually step up to it, and teams like OpTic and others know, having done it over the last year or so, that they can either break even or make a profit from this and not have sustain a massive loss, whereas other teams might not be so convinced they can, especially with the current climate. They're not so convinced to do so. A couple of quick things on Modern Warfare 3. I thought this is hilarious as well, actually, and I don't know if you guys have felt this tendency with the last few games, but it certainly feels this way to me. I remember the Black Ops 1 days, let's say. The UI was so clean. You spawned in, or you loaded up the game, you knew where you were going, you knew how to find the campaign, the multiplayer, everything was right laid out there in front of you, and it was really easy to find what you wanted to do. These recent games with all these like icons, it's almost like you're on a Netflix screen or whatever with all the buttons like that you've got to press and stuff, or in like a sports game or something, and nobody knows how to get anywhere. Okay, people do know, but the fact that this video has 100,000 views, how to find the campaign on Modern Warfare 2 2022, is just pretty hilarious, to be honest. So I don't know if they've got some grand theory that by making the game more difficult to navigate, you're going to spend longer on the game and therefore buy more skins. I don't know. I think it's just preferable to actually make the game better and enjoyable to play, but maybe the UI developers have other ideas. We'll see if they revert a little bit on that going forwards. And I did mention some of these guns yesterday, but included in the leaked weapons list are the following. So the ACR, I know lots of you are really hyped for Stalker plus ACR. There's also the question as to whether Dead Silent is going to be fully 100% silent, because if it is, then sound equalization becomes far less relevant and pretty much irrelevant to competitive play, as it was, let's say, in Vanguard, where we didn't really hear about sound EQ at all, despite the fact that it was at that time discovered. We think that they found out about it in Cold War, but we didn't find out until kind of recently. But in Vanguard, it wasn't so needed because Dead Silence was silent. Hopefully, it's the same thing. But if you do need to run Dead Silence, as you will, to stop sound EQ or whatever, then maybe you can't run Stalker, but that'd be nice on the ACR. The Scorpion as well, probably the last time that was actually in the game at launch was maybe Black Ops 2. I don't know if it's been in a game since then, really, the Scorpion. It was a weapon in Black Ops 1 as well, but only had 20 bullets in the mag, and I think, you know, they've used it a couple of times elsewhere. But that's interesting. And then the Uzi, I know some were excited for some sort of Uzi meta, so yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing if these are the guns they bring in, just because we think they're bringing back all the guns from last year as well, I imagine they're going to change the balance such that the new crop of weapons is likely to be stronger. I imagine they did that with Warzone as well when they went from Warzone 1 to Warzone 2. There was probably a thought towards ensuring the meta was slightly more preferable towards the new weapons so that it didn't get too stale. But let's talk about the Minnesota Rokkr. So they came up with this Rostermania update on June the 26th now, saying that they will not be exercising their options on any of those players, including Fame as well, who of course was their substitute player. But just because they weren't exercising those options doesn't necessarily mean they can't re-sign those players, right? They didn't know, this is like 1 week after Champs, they had to make these decisions whether they would extend these contracts or not. They decided not to, but that doesn't mean they can't bring people back. I mean, last year they did this with Attach, did they not? When Attach was released, and then they actually decided to run it back and re-sign Attach anyway for whatever salary they gave him. Probably would have been quite hefty, because we believe when they formed this team of Attach, Cammy, Bance and Afro, that it was a pretty, you know, hefty price to pay to make that happen. With the buyouts involved from certain teams and the salaries they pay to actually get this team off the ground. But last night they officially confirmed that none of these guys are coming back, basically, because as I say, they could have re-signed them despite not extending their deals. That's how things have gone for many teams in CDL history, but it's now confirmed. So Afro was the first to be officially released yesterday, and this was the beginning of the complete squad wipe. Now, almost the coaching staff got squad wiped as well. Let's not forget, Brian Saint was the coach for this team. He was released a few weeks, maybe a month or so ago now. I forget exactly. Time has moved kind of strange. I think it was shortly after Champs that he was let go. Looney is still there, of course, coach of the team for a little while. He was playing as recently as the Cold War season. Unfortunately, the only thing I remember of Looney in the Cold War season was when he got spun on by Shotzzy on that Miami Search and Destroy. So, you know, my bad, Looney. But anyway, so he's been there as a coach for a little while, but pretty much the entire rest of the organization is gone. Afro's gone. I think a much better player than he showcased for part of the season. Certainly at the start of the year, Afro was really good, and I still feel like of all the SMGs in the league, Afro is, well, at least outside of the theoretical top 4 teams, Afro is one of the most promising with the highest ceilings. And honestly, Rokkr has been a bit of a mess for some time, to the extent that I kind of give players the benefit of the doubt if they don't play too well under that system. At least even Attach said when he was benched from the team this season, he was like, well, the coaches were telling me to play like this. I didn't think that was a good idea, but and then they brought me back and wanted to play differently. So it just seems like a bit of a mess there, and maybe the coaching staff and the players didn't necessarily see eye to eye on certain decisions, which possibly Brian Saint has now paid the price for. Cammy was also released as well, so thanks to him also, and then Bance is gone as well. Now, the thing is, we think where Afro and Cammy are going to go. LA Thieves are the most likely team for them to join. Bance, we just don't know right now, and he's running out of options, isn't he? I mean, we look at Los Angeles Grillers. There's maybe a chance on LAG, just because if we think it's going to be Attach and Clay, maybe they'll want Bance in. I somehow doubt it, to be honest. Depends though. Maybe Attach really rates Bance from his time on Rokkr and wants to bring him along. Otherwise, you're looking at Vegas, you're looking at London, and maybe those are the options that make the most sense. This is where it's tricky for a guy like Hixie as well, because Bance and Hixie, as far as I'm concerned, very similar players. You can't have both of them on a team. One of them will probably be in the league, one of them might not be. You know, Bance, absolutely EU legendary player, but, you know, he had a great couple of seasons. This year wasn't quite the same. And then Fame also released. Somewhat surprising to me, because I thought Fame was, I mean, when they made this change and put Fame on the AR, I was like, what are you doing? I mean, Attach was benched, Fame came in on the AR, whereas he's been very much more valuable on the SMG. And I think Fame showed out to be a pretty solid player on this Rokkr team. I don't think he was spectacular or anything. I know lots of people have been gassing him up, but I do think that there's a world in which, let's say a team like Seattle Surge, they've got Hook and aBeZy as their SMG duo, which just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, aBeZy's an AR player. Hook and Fame could have been pretty good, I think, at least. I mean, Fame's got some CDL experience now. That might make sense, or that might have made sense. I guess they haven't confirmed the roster yet, so they could still change their mind. But yeah, I think Fame did a pretty solid job, and I would say maybe not exactly deserves a spot, because there's so many players that deserve a spot, you know what I mean? But I think I would like to see Fame in the CDL again at some point, and I think he will be. The big one though, of course, Attach. Attach has been on this team for a long time at this point. Plenty of memories in the 3 seasons he was there. They did, of course, have that one fantastic result where they actually won a major during the end of the Cold War season. Attach was part of that. But honestly, we thought that last year Attach was going to leave, to be honest. I thought Attach was going to be gone, and turns out they brought him back for one more year that wasn't particularly impressive. So as Attach says, thanks Rokkr for the amazing 3 years, unforgettable memories, but yeah, obviously excited for the opportunities the future holds. So pretty much saying that he's not retiring, like he's not going anywhere, Attach is not calling it a day, he's going to try and run it back on another team, and potentially that's going to be Los Angeles Guerrillas. But what do you guys think about Minnesota Rokkr as a franchise? Because they have not done much right in the last several years. They were pretty good on LAN at the start in the Modern Warfare season, right? I mean, they got those couple of second places, that team with GodRx on and Alex on before he got his thumb injury, which is very unfortunate. They were looking really good. Cold War was a shambles until they brought in Standy, and then they actually turned it around quite quickly and were really good at the end of the year. 4th at Champs, won that crazy major when they reverse swept Toronto in the grand finals 5-4. Vanguard was absolutely atrocious, and some of the roster building here has just been straight up embarrassing. I mean, I can't believe they actually built this team of Attach, Major Maniac, Priestahh, and Accuracy. Like, that is just literally all ARs as it presently is. And to be fair, even going into Vanguard, still Attach, Major Maniac, Priestahh, and Standy, like, I just don't see how they thought that was good. This year, they built on paper a better team, but you could argue, as Parasite was saying, the Cammy syndrome, which is maybe, you know, I know OpTic called it the Cammy phenomenon, which is maybe slightly kinder, but, you know, maybe Cammy isn't the player that he was before, maybe Attach isn't the player that he was before. I think that's certainly the case for Bance. So, you know, maybe they got players that were a little bit past their prime, they didn't invest in up-and-coming talent maybe as they needed to. Afro was eventually benched from the team as well. Maybe there was internal conflict, who knows. They did get a couple of third places, right? Major 2, Major 5, solid enough, but they have churned through so many players over the last few years. I mean, I guess it's not insane since the start of the CDL, but these are all the players they go through. Every year they basically squad wipe and then run it back with a new team. Will this be the season to change things around? Is this roster going to be good enough, or next season are we going to talk about another Minnesota Rokkr squad wipe where they've done it again? I like what they... I know people are saying, oh, Accuracy, he's only here because Friendship League. And this is the rumoured team. This might be confirmed in the coming days. When they announce all these, you know, these guys are departing, it probably means they're going to confirm, or the teams that those players are going to confirm very shortly. So this is the rumoured roster. We talked about Linz and Vivid, an interesting SMG duo for sure. Awakening and Accuracy, I think, can work from an AR perspective. I quite like the Accuracy pickup here in the sense that I think that he can do well with these guys. And also, when Accuracy does move on from competing, he's going to be such a good coach somewhere. And if any team is in need of good coaching and good directions and good maybe talent spotting, Rokkr might be that organisation. So there might be a little bit of future-proofing there in some sense what Rokkr are trying to do. If this team gets confirmed, we'll discuss it. But there are some other options that could potentially make this team better. I don't know, maybe from the SMG perspective, but, you know, there's other options out there. But we think that Linz is going to go there because he's not going with aBeZy to Seattle, of course. This is the Thieves team, rumoured, with Ghosty, Thieves, Cammy, and Afro. Are these guys making a good decision to take two players that were not great, really, on the balance last year for Rokkr to go to Thieves now and try and turn them around? I think they can play better than they did on Rokkr. It's, as I say, like, you kind of give some of these players the benefit of the doubt for not playing so well, because it just seems like that's a slightly strange situation. But yeah, Attach, that's now his second longest tenure on any organisation. FaZe was there for over 4 years. Rokkr was nearly there for 3 years, pretty much 2 years, 11 months from when he joined to now he's been released. Now, where does Attach go as well? I think that when Standy and Attach were teaming together, actually, which I kind of forgot about during those Rokkr days, there have been some questions as to whether Attach and Clay plus Standy could be an option, because Clay and Standy teamed last year on Vegas. Attach and Standy have teamed together before and have some good experience. So that might make a lot of sense if that's what Los Angeles Guerrillas are going to try and do. So very much intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
And it's a straight gunfight in the middle of the map. They're going to get it done in the park here. Dun goes through. Does manage to connect with the flash. Here we go. Looney. Big... Oh, no! No, 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 no! Oh, my God!